Hey guys, finish up on the addition rule. The last video we looked at an example problem for disjoint events, meaning they do not intersect, they do not affect each other. We're going to work a problem now with the non-disjoint events or compound events. Again, the problem is that there's an overlap, there's an intersection. There are events from A that are also in B, and there's events from B that are also in A. So therefore we use this formula right here. Again, I showed that the formula for compound events in calculating up probability works for both of those. So here's our problem. Non-disjoint events are compound events, and there was a study done in looking at people, and it was looked at whenever they dress up, do they do their hair, what about not dressing up, and hair and nails and makeup. So this is what we're asked. What is the probability of having someone fix their hair or do their makeup or not dressing up? So that's what I'm asked to find. First thing that we need to do is that, I'll write it up here, we need to sum the table. Anytime you have a table, you go through and you take all your sums and you add everything up. So we'll work 312, 199, 218. 588 and 44. Okay, so I've added up my columns and then I added up my rows. Now I'm going to add these two numbers together and then I'm going to add these numbers together, and I should get the same answer. Kind of like cross checking, double checking. So 218, 3, 729, and then 912. Okay, I got the same answer. So here we go. Now what I've done here is that I have found my sample space n, my total number of possible outcomes, and all of these values here will be my x, my favorable outcomes based upon what I'm asked to find. Okay, next thing that I do is I write out my formula. So my formula, just the basic formula like we use, this helps me make sure I get in the right frame of mind. The reference is simply this. And again, we're going to, for this type of problem, because it's compound events, we're going to have an intersection. So we'll need to subtract that. So minus the probability of A and B. But if we look at this, see what we're asked to find, what is the probability of having someone fix their hair or do their makeup or not dress up? I have three things in here. In my initial equation that shows me it's only two. So I'm going to rewrite my formula. But what I want to do is make sure that I'm going to do some different labels. I'm not going to use A, B, and C because I know that in your homework problem they use A, B, C, and D to label their columns. So I don't want to be able to confuse you. So having everything that I write out in A, B, and C, and then that's what you're dealing with as an actual category. So let's see here. We'll say, how about we use L, M, and N. That way, all right there. So let's see, fix their hair. So hair is going to be L, and do their makeup. Makeup is M. That worked out well. And N, not that worked out well too. Not dressing up. Okay, so those are my labels for what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to rewrite my formula with that so that way you can see it. So I'm going to have L or M or N. So that equals the probability of L plus the probability of M plus the probability of N minus, I'm going to subtract all of those intersections that can occur. So probability of L and M minus the probability of L and N. And the last last one is probability of m and n. There's my, and if they don't intersect, that value is just 0. So all of these could go away if there is no intersection in what the problem's asked. Again, these are the intersections. Symbol for intersection is that upside down U. And forgive my penmanship and my squiggly lines and writing crooked. Now, so the first thing I did was sum the table. Second thing, write my formula. Third, values for my formula. So I'm going to find, okay, so what is P of L equal to? And P of L, so let's see, this is L. I know all of my denominators are 729 and this is L, so this is simply 312 over 729. That's why you sum the table. It simplifies your work as once you're ready to start writing everything out. M 218 over 729. And then the probability of n, let's see, n is 141 over 729. Now I'm going to need to find these. I need to find the probability of L and M. I'm going to slide this up from there. The probability of L and N and the probability of M and N. Alright, these are intersections. So the first one I'm going to look at is L and M. So here's L. Does L represents hair. Does hair intersect makeup at all? No, there's no intersection. So that value is 0. Nothing. Now we'll look at L and N. This is L. L is hair. N is not dressing up. This number right here, was that used whenever I found my probability of L? Yes, that's part of my total. That's part of 312. Was it used whenever I calculated or summed up the not dressing up? Yes. So that is why I've counted the value 23 twice. That's why I will end up removing it once. So that right there is the intersection of L and N. See, they intersect. L and N, they intersect there. So 23 over 729. And let's see, you find the intersection of M and N. Okay, M is makeup, it's right here. N is not dressing up. Where they intersect at, the value is 34. Again, did I use 34 whenever I summed up makeup? Yes, I did. 184 plus 34. And did I add in 34 whenever I summed up not dressing up? Yes, I did. So I have to get rid of one of those. So 34 over 729. I have all my values now. I need to plug into my formula. So that is 312 over 729 plus 218, it's M, over 729 plus, and for N, 141 over 729 minus, and I'll go ahead and write in 0. That's the first, that's the L and M, minus L and N 23 over 729 minus 34 over 729. All of our fractions have the same denominator, so really all I'm doing is adding and subtracting numerators. And I'm going to place that value over 729. And I can't do that in my head. So what we'll do is we'll just Use the calculator. Okay, that's all my sums. 671 minus 23 minus 34. 614. 614 divided by 729 gives me 0.842. 0.842. What is the probability of having someone fix their hair or do their makeup or not dressing up? 84%. Guys, in all of this, and the way I worked it out is once you start working these, you see you don't have to write everything out like I did. It's a very safe way to do it. But the reason I did it is hopefully so that you could visualize and see. This is the part that you must be able to understand, that intersection. You must be able to understand that whenever I calculated L, hair, I counted that 23 in that total. But then whenever I also calculated not dressing up, I calculated that 23. So what we're looking at here is this. Do a Venn diagram, freehand. So my apologies. Yeah. So this was L, right? And this is N. Well, what they both have in the middle is 23. L then has 289. That's just by itself, okay? Because this is the border of it. And N has, what's it, 118? 118, that's just it, because here's the border. That is what overlaps that 23. And I can draw a Venn diagram for M and N also. All right. Watch your publisher's videos. Critically think, structure your homework, work it through, write everything out. Work homework problems more than once until you say, I know how to do that and I understand what I'm doing. Guys, good luck with the rest of your homework.